It's Friday.
It's time for Mornings at 8 with Jonathan Mark on AM 1480 WLEA.
Oh, yes, it is time for Mornings at 8. Yes, it is time for Mornings at 8 on a Friday morning. Thank you, Mr. Paul Harvey. Actually, it's kind of nice out there. Not bad at all. 33 degrees here on Mount Ashbaugh. So, yes, it is Friday, the end of the weekend. Tomorrow's the weekend, and boy, yes, sirree, Bob. You gotta love that weekend. Let me say, right at the top of the show, right now I'm going to do this, because if I don't do it now, I might not remember by 8:30. But next Friday, Mornings at 8 will not be heard, and the Newsmaker will not be heard, because next Friday, starting at 8 o'clock, 8 until 9, we will have an exclusive in our market, by the way, a little radio talk there. Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly, you know Bill, he will be interviewing President Donald Trump. And you will hear that right here on WLEA. That's coming up next Friday, 8 until 9. So that is a...
Can I make a correction?
What? 8 until 9? Yes,
It's a week from next Friday.
Oh, it's a week from next Friday.
Yes.
Now, what's the... is there a date here on this?
The 29th.
There is a date. Way at the bottom, there's a date. Okay, the day after Thanksgiving. Check. That's the day after Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
So Thanksgiving's on the 28th. Anyway, okay. On November 29th, the day after Thanksgiving. So 8 until 9, Bill Riley interviews President Trump right here. Let me see. You know, you make so many friends doing the show. I love it. You really got to love it. You make a lot of friends here. I love this job. Let me see. As you heard on Brian's news there, Allegheny County Clerk Robert Christman has weighed in on the Green Light Law. And the Green Light Law was passed this past June. And he said, if you come into my facility and you have done something illegal, it's my obligation to report you to the appropriate authorities, whether you're a citizen or not. And that was Allegheny County Clerk Robert Christman. Now, the Green Light Law, of course, it's been hailed as a landmark victory by those who had fought for the measure for more than 20 years. They were after this for 20 years. And, of course, it allows undocumented immigrants to obtain driver's licenses. You can call them undocumented immigrants. You can call them illegals. Call them what you will. But New York will become one of 14 states that allow them to obtain driver's licenses, which proponents argue will help them avoid deportation for relatively minor offenses, such as traffic violations. But that's been met with a little resistance, matter of fact, a lot of resistance, by a number of county clerks upstate. And Robert Christman is one of them. And in recent days, at least 4 clerks have said they will not comply with the law. Although in most states, the Department of Motor Vehicles is administered by state agents. In upstate New York, these duties frequently fall on county clerks, many of whom are elected. So this thing has been going on for quite some time, this Green Light Law. And Republican and Democrat state lawmakers have also introduced conflicting pieces of legislation in response to the brouhaha. One would shield court clerks who refuse to grant licenses, while another would protect the jobs of DMV workers who issued the licenses if the Green Light Law is found to be at odds with federal law. Okay? Now, the law goes into effect, December 14th. But state officials have not yet issued guidelines for how it will be implemented, drawing criticism from all sides. Nobody. This has been going on. Wow. Anyway, Joseph Yastrzemski, the Niagara County clerk, said a group of clerks sent the commissioner of the DMV some of their practical concerns 2 months ago. And Mr. Yastrzemski said if this law is going to become effective in December, these concerns need to be addressed now. And in a state lawsuit filed last month, he said the state has not told clerks how to make sure undocumented immigrants are not given the option to register to vote when they apply for driver's licenses, and the law could otherwise open the door to voter fraud. So we'll see how that goes. The Erie County clerk brought a lawsuit that was dismissed this past Friday. Michael Kearns said that he will appeal the decision. And in response to Mr. Kearns' suit, a coalition of 8 states and the District of Columbia, as well as the New York Civil Liberties Union, filed briefs defending the law. The Conservative Party of New York State and the Immigration Reform Law Institute offered their support for the county clerk. So this is we're gonna have to see how this goes. I mean, do you think that undocumented immigrants should get driver's licenses? It's like a yes or no question here. I don't know, but it's kind of interesting, and we'll see how the whole thing goes. And also, there's something else from New York. Let me see. Oh, yes. This is in Monroe County, up north here. As we all know, the cops in New York City and Brooklyn and the Bronx and all that, they are under attack almost constantly. I don't think a day goes by where I don't have a story pertaining to harassment of cops in New York City. I mean, the NYPD is really having a really, really hard time. And Monroe County, it's not quite as bad as New York City, but it has its problems too, with people harassing and attacking cops. So there's a proposal up there, which, let me see, Monroe County proposal. A person who annoys, alarms, or threatens the personal safety of an officer could be punished with up to a year behind bars and up to a $5,000 fine. This is the Associated Press by way of WBNG. Anyway, if you alarm or threaten or annoy an officer, you could be punished with up to a year in jail and up to a $5,000 fine. And the legislature up there passed the measure this past Tuesday in a 17-10 vote. And the county executive will hold a public hearing on the legislation and decide whether to approve it, she said. And the legislation also applies to first responders. Now, not everybody is for this. That's right. How about the New York Civil Liberties Union? Said it would have a chilling effect on people. And Dolores Jones Brown, professor emerita at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, said courts have found that the use of the words annoying or alarming in statute is overbroad and unconstitutionally vague. I wonder if unconstitutionally vague, would there be a constitutionally vague? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, the legislation, she said, would create a situation where people are scared to exercise their First Amendment rights. Now, would First Amendment rights apply to throwing water on cops? Or, I don't know, throwing bricks at them or bottles? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, an officer could be annoyed by a person who asks them for their badge number or who records them with a cell phone while on the job. She said the statute definitely has the capacity to make people afraid to do that. And Jones Brown added that a portion of the measure could survive a legal challenge, a section tied to conduct that threatens the personal safety of an officer. Courts have found threats easier to define, she said, but are not completely beyond interpretation. So that's what they're thinking of doing in Monroe County. Now, do you think that someone who threatens the personal safety of an officer should not be charged with anything? Because it's happening a lot in New York City. Or who annoys them? Or alarms them or something like that? I don't know. I think it should be a crime. Because, in a greater sense, it isn't that you're threatening a person. You are threatening the system. Because if a person wasn't wearing a uniform, right, how would you know that they're a cop? So you see the uniform, you know they're a cop, and then you would annoy or harass them or threaten them. So therefore, you're not annoying, harassing, or threatening a person. It's the uniform, which means the system of law, right? You're attacking law enforcement. You're attacking the system. So I think that makes it a little, I don't know, that makes it a little more serious. At least that's my opinion. And let me, I have so much this morning I can't even, I can tell you this. I have really good hearing. And from where I sit right now, I think I can hear the end times coming. I really can. And I have two stories here that will back that up, I believe. Here's a heartwarming story of a gentleman. I think the word gentleman, a guy, a man. Actually, I'm not quite sure. I'll tell you about that. what's his name? James Hilton Harrell. He lives in San Francisco. That's right. And he wrote a heartwarming piece that appeared in Microsoft News, MSN, My Socialist Network. Anyway, he got married on May 26th to Diane A. Lone. And Diane A. Lone is James Hilton Harrell's alter ego, his alter drag ego. So there's a picture here of the wedding party. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. There's 10 people in this wedding party. And Mr. or whatever, Mr. or something Harrell, stands. I think the guy's about 6'5". You can't possibly miss this guy. But he was really excited to marry himself. And they had a big ceremony in San Francisco. And the story wound up in the San Francisco Chronicle. And he's very excited. And he said, "My wedding was designed to make folks question what it means to be single in a world that so heavily demands we enter into one exclusive romantic partnership and to serve as a celebration of love's many forms." Anyway, so he's married himself. He's married his alter ego. Now, that's all well and good. Do we have Gary Best on the line?
Yes.
Already? I'm just getting... Okay, fine. Okay, Gary, are you there, I guess?
I am here, Jonathan. How you doing?
Well, pretty good. Okay, how's the weather looking here?
Well, it's looking pretty cold during today. We've got the clouds developing here over the next several hours, and the chance of maybe some flurries around here during this afternoon as a cold front approaches. Temperatures today will be right around 40. Now, any snow showers or flurries end this evening, then clearing and breezy and cold overnight, 14 to 18 degrees by Saturday morning. So Saturday is going to be bright but chilly, near 30 with a good deal of sun. Clear at night around 10 to 15, and mostly sunny on Sunday. We're back up to near 40, low 40s early next week with a few rain or snow showers Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, thank you, Gary. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Okay, we'll see you.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In the NFL on Thursday Night Football, the Browns beat the Steelers 21-7 in what was largely an uneventful game until the very end. In the final seconds, Pittsburgh quarterback Mason Rudolph was sacked by Cleveland defensive end Myles Garrett. A scuffle between the two broke out, with Garrett ripping off Rudolph's helmet and then swinging it and striking Rudolph in the head. Rudolph would be okay. Garrett would be ejected and will likely face a substantial suspension. As for the game, Cleveland quarterback Baker Mayfield had 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing. Cleveland proves to 4-6 with the win. Pittsburgh 5-5 with the loss. NBA games of note: the Pelicans beat the Clippers 132-127. In his Clippers debut, Paul George had 33 points in defeat. Knicks beat the Mavericks 106-103. Kristaps Porzingis returned to New York for the first time to face his old team. He had 20 points and 11 rebounds in the loss for Dallas. Bucks over the Bulls 124-115. Reigning league MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo led Milwaukee with 36 points and 16 rebounds.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks falling as investors sifted through a slew of earnings reports today, with the Dow falling 19 points, the Nasdaq down 49, S&P 500 down 3. And shares of plant-based meat company Beyond Meat were far from sizzling today on Wall Street, falling over 22%, marking the end of Beyond Meat's lockup period. For the first time since its IPO, early investors can sell the stock. Now, despite the sell-off, Beyond Meat reported a much bigger profit than expected for its third quarter. Shares of Mattel spiking after hours, around 18%, after the toy maker posted better than expected earnings for the third quarter as newer models boosted demand for its flagship Barbie brand, and the launch of dolls based on Korean pop sensation BTS lifted international sales. Mattel also announcing it will be hiring a new chief financial officer in the wake of a whistleblower investigation relating to its accounting practices. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. And right now, get your first online visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/joy. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. forhims.com/joy.
Today at Simmons Rockwell Hyundai. Drive away in a new Hyundai Tucson lease for only $229 a month. A new 2019 all-wheel drive Hyundai Tucson SE model equipped with 17-inch alloy wheels, touchscreen media, and rear view monitor. Lease with no money down for $229 a month for 36 months. Only tax and DMV fees are due at signing. Shop Simmons-Rockwell.com.
The Ryan Agencies, your local, independent insurance agencies. The Ryan Agency is not beholden to any one insurance company. They work with many companies, offering unbiased insurance advice. Their interest is seeking your best interest. Contact the Ryan Agencies. Good people offering unbiased advice, seeking your best interest.
Insurance protection you can rely on. The Ryan Agency.
Okay, and we are back. Okay, now, where was I here? Oh, yes. Okay, this guy in San Francisco, James Hilton Harrell. And he takes out a $20,000 loan to pay for his wedding. And he got married to himself. For reasons I don't know, I have no idea, but that's what happened. Anyway, so he gets married to Diane A. Lone, which is his drag alter ego. And here he is. He's pictured in his wedding gown. It's a wonderful thing, and it's so heartwarming. Nice, long, black and white wedding gown. Okay, fine. All right, let me see. So, in my mind, that raises a number of questions. In the first place, if you marry yourself and you have an alter ego, a drag queen, how do you deal with the IRS? Are you single, file, or married, filing single, or single, file? How would that work? I mean, how would that work? Also, what about a driver's license? You get a driver's license, there are two of you, sort of in some strange, surreal way. Would you get two licenses? And the photo ID would be the same on two licenses, although there'd be two names. What about a passport? That needs a photo too. So you would get two passports with different names, but the same person? That could be a problem. Or what about Christmas presents? How do you buy Christmas presents? How do you surprise the other you with a Christmas present? Because obviously you have to know what you're buying. Or would you buy it blindfolded? And even though, then how would that work? And how would you throw a surprise party? You can't really surprise yourself. I don't know about that. But let's say a divorce. Let's say you get married to yourself, but then you want a divorce. How would that work? So would the divorce attorney make a double fee because you would pay and then the other you would pay at the same time? These are really important, I think, and really serious questions. And a lot of people go on separate vacations. How could you possibly go on a separate vacation? Because if you're going, then the other you is going at the same time. This gets really confusing. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what's happening there in San Francisco. And, yipper, it's the end times is right around the corner. Okay, here's another one. This is from The Guardian. Have you ever heard of antinatalists? Antinatalists. Well, adherents view life not as a gift and a miracle, but a harm and an imposition. And their notion that having children may be a bad idea seems to be gaining mainstream popularity. Here's the deal. A 27-year-old guy in India, his name is Raphael Samuel, has filed a lawsuit against his parents. And why is he suing his parents? He is suing his parents for being born, for begetting him. So it was not our decision to be born, he told the BBC. Human existence is totally pointless. Maybe for some people, I don't know. Anyway, so he says he's actually close to his parents. This gets stranger and stranger. His complaint is more fundamental. He believes it's wrong to bring new people into the world without their consent. He wanted to sue his parents for a symbolic amount of money, such as 1 rupee, this is in India, right? To instill that fear among parents in general, because now parents don't think before having a child. And the philosophy, it's called antinatalism. The basic tenet of antinatalism is simple, but for most of us, it's kind of weird. And it says life, even under the best of circumstances, is not a gift or a miracle, but rather a harm and an imposition. So, this is pretty weird. So anyway, this guy is suing his parents for being, I never asked to be born, right? Okay, like a 6 or 7, maybe a 12-year-old kid will say, I never asked to be born. Well, there you go. This is an adult. This guy is 27 years old. Anyway, it's not a singular thing. There's a South African philosopher, David Benatar, has published a book which is widely credited with introducing the term antinatalism. The name of the book is Better Never to Have Been, The Harm of Coming into Existence. Whew. Whoa, man, this is pretty strange. Anyway, so there are a number of groups out there. Zero Population Growth, arguing that the growth in global population would lead to famines and ecological crisis. And the guy who wrote, Paul Ehrlich, said people should have no more than 2 children. Gee, this is so strange. There's also another thing called the Voluntary Human Extinction Movement, with the goal of phasing out the human race by voluntarily ceasing to breed. Woohoo. Okay, anyway, antinatalism. And in how much time have I got? In 2015, 2 American climate activists, Megan Coleman and Josephine Fiorelli, founded a network called Conceivable Future. And they organize house parties throughout the country for people to share their considerations about having children, given the reality of the climate crisis. Anyway, in one video, in this presentation, one 31-year-old elementary school teacher says, I feel such fear and guilt and shame and sadness already. I find the loss of animals and plant life, the loss of water and air, just sad. Yeah, it's sad. Okay, anti-natalists. Man, life is evil, life is bad, we're all going to die, it's all over, and there you go. Okay, fine, I will see you Monday at 8:05. Bye.